When did you guys meet?
We met sophomore year of college.
Okay.
So we were both 19 back in 2014.
Okay.
So very young. That
How
was 10 years ago.
How did you meet though?
Through
Friends?
my sister's boyfriend at the time,
Okay.
who played football at Notre Dame. And then I went down to visit because at that point he was like part of our family. They were dating for like 2.5 years at that point.
Yeah.
So I went down to visit. And while I was down there, I went to a party and then I met Isaac.
Oh my gosh, that's so sweet. And he was playing football, but obviously like
College
you just
football.
like never know, like, you know.
No, you never know.
Yeah.
So that's why whenever I get hate about people being like, oh, you knew he was going to the NFL. I'm like, no, not really. Like when he got drafted to the NFL, he got drafted with a few other people like from Notre Dame. And like, he's the only person still in the NFL from his draft class.
Okay.
So I'm like, how was I supposed to know that?
Yeah.
But
yeah. I was going to ask like how is that? Cause I feel like we're very similar, but different in that aspect because I feel like I get people saying that I married my husband for certain reasons that are not the case. And I'm sure that has like been the case for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like, so he doesn't have a good personality. Like, tell me he's ugly without telling. Like, okay, so you don't think he's attractive or like smart or funny? I'm like, okay, that's fine. Yeah, I hate when people just like put it all towards one trait. Like, oh, it must be their money. I'm like, or he's hot and he's like really nice.
Yeah, that I know. I want to ask you, do you feel like you ever like? Because this is something that I really struggle with. Not really, but it comes in waves. Struggle with like your identity and like figuring out who you are. Me, like being a wife and like being Taylor's wife is like, you know, the thing I'm most proud of in life.
For sure.
But sometimes I'm like, what else am I? Like, what other titles am I? Like, do you ever struggle with that?
1,000,000%. I think especially right now because my husband's a free agent, like I feel like I've been following him and like his dreams for so long and like I love him, so I want to support him in like everything with football. I think for a second, I think it's our first move out of Los Angeles. He went to the Indianapolis Colts and I was like, wait, who am I? Am I just following around my husband and that's all I am? All I am is his wife, which that's not a bad thing to just be his wife. But I think finding my identity outside of like being Isaac Rochelle's wife or being a football player's wife was a little hard in the beginning. And then I think I got the hang of it. And like, I was like, okay, I'm confident in this. And like, now he's able to support me in my dreams in this way. But now that I'm a mother, I'm like, wait, I have to do that again and like find my identity outside of just being like Scotty's mom. So it's always
how do you feel like you have been able to do that? If there is an answer there,
I think it's like falling back in love with like what you like to do. I think ever since becoming a mom, like I love my daughter so much. So I like doing everything that revolves around her, which is like making purees or like hanging out with her, buying her toys or like going shopping for her. So then I have to like reel myself back in and like, okay, if you have an hour to yourself, like let's go out and like do something for Allie. Like what does Allie like to do? Does she like to go shopping for herself? So I think that's been something I've been trying to figure out. I definitely don't have it down pat though.
Yeah. No, I feel like sometimes I'm like, this is the best. I love being a wife. Like that's like my number one thing. And then like I went to an event recently and we obviously have the same name. And so our name was on a paper and I was like checking in. When I told her my name, she like found it and then read it and she was like, oh, and like looked at me and I was like, oh, well, that was a little like sad. You were, you're disappointed that it's me and not my husband. So like, there's things like that happen that I'm like, that kind of like set me back a little bit.
Yeah. I feel like that's gotta be hard because I mean, did you have a social platform before you got married?
No, I didn't do anything before we were dating. I mean, when we started dating, I like slowly had a following, but no, it's definitely been amplified over the past couple of years.
Yeah. How do you think you've been finding your identity outside?
I think in things like a lot of work, which is something that I probably need to like work on, is not just in work, but having like the nonprofit and doing this, even though we do it together, like I still like find myself in it as an individual, which I think is cool. But someone recently was like, what hobbies do you have? What do you do for fun? And I was like, oh my gosh, I literally looked at Taylor and I was like, what the frick do I do for fun? Like, I don't know.
No, when it comes to people ask my hobbies, I'm like, I don't have no idea.
Yeah. Like, how do I
And I feel like us moving around all the time, I also don't have like a huge friend group. So I'm like, when people are like, oh, like, what are your hobbies? Like, hang out with friends. Like, do you like to go to the beach? It's like, well, I don't want to go to the beach just like me, my husband, and my daughter. Well, obviously I do sometimes, but I think like a big group of friends sounds more enjoyable.
Oh, for sure.
So we're trying to get there.
Take me through your moving
Oh my God.
process.
Are you sure? Like, how long do we have on this podcast?
I'm strapped in.
Okay. So Isaac and I graduated from college and he got drafted to the Los Angeles Chargers.
Okay.
So he was there for 4 years. I ended up moving out there. I bounced around a few different cities. We eventually moved in together so that this starts us together. So then his first off season in 2020, he was up for a new contract. We moved to Arizona for 4 months to redo our Airbnb.
Okay.
And then he signed with the Indianapolis Colts. So we moved to Indiana, bought a house there. And then after his contract was up there, we sold that house and moved to an apartment in California. And then at the end of that off season, we bought a house that we're currently redoing right now. Moved from California to Cleveland. Lived there for 6 months. Lived in Vegas for 2 weeks. And then moved out of Cleveland, moved out of Vegas. Moved back to California, then moved back to Vegas for 6 or 7 months, moved to Texas, and then moved back to California.
And how long have you been here now?
4 months.
Okay.
So yeah, we're currently living in a rental house.
Okay.
And then we're waiting for our house to be done being renovated. And I'm not moving out of that house until I'm dead. Like, I will not move again.
Yeah. How do you feel settled? How do you feel? Because even like when I'm gone for little trips, but I'm always coming back here and it takes me a minute to be settled, but you like don't even have settled.
No, I feel like it's crazy because right now I'm like the least settled I've ever been because we're in California and he could get a call at any point to go to a team or not. So we could just be here or not be here. So I feel like right now I know that this house is temporary because we can either move into our finished house or we can move to a different place temporarily.
Yeah.
So I feel like right now I'm very not settled, but I think when I gave birth, I felt very settled because I was like, this is the house that we own. And like, I know that like her memories here and my memories with her being a newborn, like all of these are going to remain in this house. And like, we'll move back to this house. But like me being pregnant in Vegas, I'm like, I was never settled there.
Yeah.
And I mean, thank God I wasn't because we ended up moving 2 weeks before I gave birth. So yeah, I feel like that's why I'm like, when it comes to being at home, it's definitely like my husband, my daughter, like that feels home to me. Like wherever my dogs are, that's like home.
Yeah.
But ask me again when I move into my renovated house. If I don't feel settled there, then we have a huge issue that we have to figure out.
A big problem. Are you before this, like before like being with your husband and bouncing around everywhere, were you a planner?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm actually still not a planner.
Okay. I feel like that makes me feel like a little bit better about it because like I plan things like very, very badly. Like I
thought you were gonna say like you're a huge planner, so you're not a good planner.
No, I am a planner.
Okay.
And so having a schedule like that would like not be ever. So maybe do you feel like that's maybe like help? Sure.
Me not being a planner?
Yeah. Or like
totally.
Were you go with the flow? Like kind of before
very go with the flow. Like every year in college, I moved apartments every year. Like I'm very go with the flow. Like I changed my major like 5 times. I think me being chaotic is very beneficial to the lifestyle that we're currently in. It kind of sucks for every other part of life because I'm like procrastinator and like kind of chaotic still. But for this, I think it's really good. Like me moving 2 weeks before birth, I feel like people focus on their birth plan. Like they don't focus on moving before their birth.
Yeah.
So I think me go with the flow has been good.